I'd like to call to order the meeting, March 15th, 2022 of the Las Virgenes-Malibu Council of Governors. Let's see here, excuse me one second. Okay. Could we have a roll call, please?
Let's see, Stuart Siegel.
Present.
Chris Anstead. Dennis Weber, alternate.
I'm here.
Kelly Honig,
Present.
Alicia Weintraub,
Present.
and let the record reflect that the alternate from Agoura Hills, Dennis Weber, is participating, and we also have three other alternates, Mikey Pearson, Ray Pearl, and Aniko Gold participating.
Okay.
So we do have a quorum.
Okay, great. All right. And do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the January meeting?
So moved.
Can we, let's do the agenda first.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
And I would suggest that we move item 7D up on the agenda in order to, if the board does take action, we could then convey it to the Board of Supervisors meeting, who is also in session this morning. So if you would want to move that up to in the before the public safety, maybe in after item 5D, we could do 7D.
Okay, I will make that motion.
Okay,
Second by Stuart.
Okay, roll call, please.
let's see. Board Member Siegel,
Yes.
Board Member Weber,
Yes.
Board Member Honig, Board Member Weintraub,
Yes.
President Fair.
Yes. Okay, and now do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January meeting?
So moved by Stuart.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Stuart Siegel,
Yes.
Dennis Weber,
Yes.
Kelly Honig,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub,
Yes.
President Fair.
Excuse me,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, then we should probably move to public comments.
Okay, do we have any public speakers?
I have not received any email or phone calls or any other notification about somebody wanting to speak. So unless there's somebody that is currently on the screen. Okay, I don't think we have.
Okay,
No public comments.
okay.
And we go to the consent calendar.
Yes. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar, or would anyone like to pull an item?
I'll make the
Dennis
Move that the
Weber will-
consent calendar be approved.
I'll second. Dennis Weber.
Okay, roll call, please.
Uh, Board Member Siegel,
Yes.
Board Member Weber,
Yes.
Board Member Honig,
Yes.
Board Member Weintraub,
Yes.
President Fair.
Yes.
Okay. Then if you'd like, we could move to the information items, and I will provide a very brief report because we have a very long meeting, or the potential to have a long meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So the COG's Homeless Working Group held a meeting last month to discuss issues related to homelessness and the next phase of our county homeless grant. That grant has been delayed, but I am currently working with county staff to finalize that. We won't lose any funding or anything like that for the 2 months that's been delayed in in this matter, and the county has assured me that any unspent grant funds will be pushed forward to the next fiscal year. And in addition to that, the grant funding, of course, includes Gabriel's position, and there won't be any problem there. So from that standpoint, everything's good. I met with the COG's Highway Working Group last month, and the purpose of the meeting was to discuss the additional $12 million in Measure R funds that's being allocated to the COG cities in 2022. And so far, I've held meetings with Agoura Hills, Calabasas, and Malibu, and recently Westlake Village. So that is moving forward. Hidden Hills, I will be touching base with, but that should not be an issue. So everything is going well from that standpoint on the planning for that additional Measure R funds. Let's see, I see Rachel on, so I won't steal her thunder. I'll let her announce the SCAG information. And then let's see. Oh, I wanted to ask you, we currently, the COG since 2013, when we first appointed Dennis Washburn, former mayor and governing board member of the COG from Calabasas, we appointed him to the Metro Service Council. And the Metro Service Council, the San Fernando Valley part of the Metro Service Council, deals with transit issues in the valley. And Dennis has asked to be reappointed, but I wanted to put it out there to see if any of the governing board members know of an individual that rides the bus or transit regularly, that lives in one of the COG cities that might be interested in serving. We don't have to appoint until next month, so I can work with you if you do have anyone. If not, I would recommend reappointing Dennis, who's been a faithful representative from the COG.
Terry, what's the timing on that?
Timing specifically, the appointment has to be to them by June, and then the term is a 4-year term. There's a representative from the Board of Supervisors on the council. There's a representative from the San Fernando Valley COG, and then Metro staff supports the Service Council.
I don't know Dennis Washburn, but I would say if he's been doing it and willing to continue, my gut feeling is to thank him for doing that.
Okay. Well, I'll talk with the other board members about it, and then we'll reconfer with you before the April meeting.
Okay, sound good, everybody?
And then let's see. I'm working on the COG's grant application to update the hazard mitigation plan, and I will be submitting the application by the April 8th deadline. And then just a reminder, I know that most of you have already filed either electronically or the old-fashioned way with a hard copy, but I just wanted to remind everybody to submit their annual Form 700 to me or to the county electronically by April 1st. And that concludes my executive director's report.
Okay, great. Thank you, Terry. I'm hearing an echo. Is everybody else hearing that? Yes, sorry. I'm gonna. Is that better?
I think so. Let's see. Try again.
Sorry, does this sound any better?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, next on the agenda, we have Senator Ben Allen. I see him. I now see his adorable baby. There he is. Hi, Ben.
I was, I thought if we were going to do another report, I would listen in and help clean the kitchen, but you called on me. So it's good to see you, Karen. How are you?
Thank you. Likewise. Good. Thanks, Ben. And your baby is now how old?
He's 3 now. So that
Awesome.
picture is a little old, actually.
Congratulations.
You've such a little character.
You look like maybe you even got some sleep last night.
Well, that's kind of you. I think it's just the effect of the light, you know.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. And I think we allotted 5 minutes for you and for Assemblymember Irwin. Is that correct, Terry?
Yes, however, Assemblymember Irwin informed me, her staff informed me yesterday that she was presenting one of her bills in committee this morning and would not be able to participate.
Okay. Ben, I apologize in advance. We have a packed agenda.
You get it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to come on and say hello. I've obviously had the great pleasure of representing Malibu when I was on the Santa Monica Malibu School Board. But I am the state senator currently for the 26th district, which goes up to about basically the Getty Villa and Topanga State Park. But because of redistricting, I'm gaining much of the Santa Monica Mountains, basically the LA County portion of the Santa Monica Mountains in my new district. So that will include Hidden Hills and Agoura Hills and Malibu and Calabasas. And so it's been so I basically just wanted to come on and say hello and just offer my eagerness to meet everybody. I've had a chance to sit down on some Zooms with some of you, but I want to get to know all the local elected officials from all your communities, get to know the issues. I want to go set up shop a couple of days in the communities and get a chance to hear from you and learn about all the things that you're working on. I've been serving in the Senate now since 2014. As I mentioned, I was served on the school board beforehand for Santa Monica and Malibu. I was born and raised in the district. The district it's the west side. It goes all the way out to Hollywood, and then it also takes in the entire coastal South Bay, right down to the Palos Verdes Peninsula, and all the communities in between. So these districts are enormous, as you know. Henry Stern, who represented so many of you, his district is sort of moving northeast a little bit, and it's centered in the West San Fernando Valley. Of course, he's obviously running for supervisor, so if he wins, he would represent all of us on the Board of Supervisors. But if he does stay in the Senate, his district will shift up, just the way that this redistricting process worked. I currently chair the Senate Environmental Quality Committee. I'm also the chair of the legislature's Environmental Caucus, our Joint Committee on the Arts, and our Select Committee on Aerospace and Defense. I serve on Transportation Committee, Governmental Organization, and also Natural Resources and Water, which is Henry's committee. Passionate about open space issues, the Santa Monica Mountains. I got to say, I spent every weekend of my childhood hiking in the mountains with my dad, got to know all the canyons and the entire region really well as a kid. And so it's exciting for me to have the chance to represent the mountains. And I'll actually be with Henry and a number of you on April 22nd as we as we do the groundbreaking on the wildlife corridor, which is immensely exciting, something we were all able to get through the budget, along with money for the new pedestrian bridge down the Palisades and some land acquisition in the mountains. It's been a crazy year. Of course, we've been working on trying to address the immediate needs of the pandemic while also keeping an eye on the recovery, trying to build back for the future. We've been working on our budget right now. In fact, I'm going later today to our retreat, our caucus retreat, where we'll be talking about our budgetary priorities. And a lot of the focus has been on pandemic relief, but also renters and homeowners and schools and hospitals and nonprofits and businesses. How do we make sure that we provide them with the support they need to keep going and get started again? I've worked with a lot of you on the enormous issue of waste management. I see Jeff on the call. The League of Cities has been a great partner for me on this topic, trying to basically reduce the amount of plastics, single use, non-recyclable plastic that's out in our environment that ultimately ends up breaking cities' budgets. As you all know, you used to be making money off of recycling. Now you're actually losing money And it's largely because of the proliferation of plastics and the fact that the Chinese finally said enough is enough. You know, all this stuff that you've been exporting to us for years is really not profitable, and so much of it is ending up in our environment. And so we need to work together to improve that situation. Anyway, I just wanted to come on, say hello, offer my partnership, my friendship, and allyship with everybody here on this call. I'd love to sit down with each and every one of you, spend some time in your respective cities. And I'm just really excited to get the opportunity to represent a portion of Los Angeles County that I've just known and loved for a long time, since I was a little kid. And so I'm happy to take some questions, but really, if anything, just it's an opportunity for me to say hello to everyone.
Great, thanks, Ben. Anybody have any quick questions with quick answers? No. Okay, Ben, thank you so much.
Good to see you.
All right, good to see
Thanks,
you.
Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thanks,
Should
Terry.
have said Senator. We've known each other too long for
No,
that. Okay, sorry.
That's right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next we have James Bozagian, yes?
yes,
Discussion of the Sheriff's Department budget moratorium.
yes.
Yes, good morning, Karen, and I just wanted to give you guys a brief update. I know I think Terry's passed along some of the notes I've sent. So it's just for your consideration, just to go over the main events. On January 5th, the sheriff announced a moratorium on contract services, meaning that until he got additional money from the Board of Supervisors, that he was freezing in place all contracts, and we could not add to our contract services with the Sheriff's Department. On February 3rd, the supervisors sent him a letter declining to increase his budget. And so on February 24th, with the moratorium now in place, the sheriff gave an interview where he announced that there would be a possibility that he'd be unable to actually fulfill his current contract with the cities, which would mean that he would not be providing the level of services contracted for, and he would refund the cities proportionally to what they wouldn't be getting. As I understand it, the sheriff is obliged to obligated to give 98% support. So if he's contracting with you for a certain number of hours, he has to meet 98% of those hours, or he refunds the money. We've never gotten a refund, so either no one audits it or he's always met the hours. I think this is of concern to cities because I don't know about, I haven't checked each one of your cities. At Calabasas, our crime rate went up from 2020 to 2021. It went up 35%. We have never had that number of increase. Our residential burglaries more than doubled. Just certain classes of crimes are going way out of control. And preliminarily looking at the numbers this year, it's continuing. It'll be another 35% increase. So I'll leave you with those thoughts of how you might want to address this. I think just frankly, what would be nice is to see maybe a letter go out to both the supervisors and to the Sheriff's Department, a polite but firm letter about how we're kind of caught in the middle of this political battle and we need the support services. We don't have an alternative place. I mean, if they gave you back a check for say $500,000, we wouldn't be able to go somewhere else and get those kinds of services. So we need the problem resolved. Final announcement: on April 28th, the California Contract Cities Association is hosting a debate with the sheriff's candidates. And I'm sure this subject will come up among others. I may be one of the moderators of that debate because I haven't taken any kind of position in the sheriff's race and I'm not going to. So that's going to be downtown and it may be broadcast. I'll send the information to Terry once the invitations go out. Thank you, Karen. If you have any questions, I can maybe answer them.
Okay, thank you very much, James. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
Okay,
I do.
Stuart?
I was wondering if we could get a comment from Tessa or Acting Captain Fender, if they'd like to weigh in with an opinion on James' comments?
I'd like to comment on it if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you for, thank you for having me. I figured I would bring this up when it was my turn to speak, but I was just writing some notes as Mr. Virgenes was talking, and I really do appreciate the fact that he researched that and put out that information. And I think some of the cities have reached out to me in terms of verifying that, and if he is accurate in a lot of that information. The sheriff did put a moratorium on new hires or expending contracts. I did have to reach out to one of the cities and assure them that, first of all, we are meeting the contractual compliance with all the cities in the COG right now. I verified the compliance minutes this morning. So, you know, I like to be very transparent, very open with the members of the COG. You know, I equate it to the gum. The gum is being stretched very thin. You know, the deputies here they're a little tired. You know, we have our personnel shorting staffing shortages throughout the department, but I've assured each of the cities that right now we are meeting the contractual compliance. As Mr. Virgenes accurately reported, that contract compliance needs to stay between 98% and 102%. So the service minutes that any city contracts, the sheriff's department is obligated to provide at least at the minimum 98% of those service minutes. We try to get it as close to 100% as we can. I did look at Calabasas's crime rate this morning. He is accurate. It is up 28%. We're dumping some significant resources into Calabasas right now. But I just wanted to end that before I go into some of the other things I wanted to talk about later with, you know, we're making a concerted effort here at the station to address the crime trends in all the cities. I have more than enough deputies to satisfy the current contractual compliance rates for each of the cities. If I need to go over that because of an anomaly or some type of crime trend, I can reach out to other bureaus within the department and hire people to come in. I just can't expand the contracts in terms of hiring more deputies for any particular city.
So to clarify, in the event of a dramatic situation, whether it be a fire or some other problem, there are other resources that can be brought in that are unrelated to the contract.
Absolutely. As I explained to one city, for example, if we had a fire or if we had a rise in burglaries committed by the South American theft groups that we've had before, I can bring in additional resources from the department and pay them in terms of lowering that crime trend. I just can't add any deputies right now to a contract. So if a certain city contracted for 5 patrol deputies and they wanted to up that contract to include 6 deputies full-time, I couldn't do that yet until the moratorium is lifted. But I have more than enough resources here at the station to handle the issues, and I can still reach out within the department if we get some type of crime spike in any particular area.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you, Captain Fender. Alicia Weintraub has a question.
Thank you, Captain Fender, and thanks, James, for being here today. This is an important issue to everyone, and I'd like to hear from the county, their response to this.
Guess that would be me. I think there's going to be a lot.
We're in the hot seat
today for me. So, you know, the only thing I can answer at this point is that my understanding is that the budget for the sheriff's department has actually increased since last year, and that the sheriff has complete control over how he spends his money. So I can't speak to the specific hiring issues and challenges in any particular area, and I can bring back your concern certainly, but there has been no reduction in resources this past year.
No, I know. I guess the issue is that we as individual cities can't increase our own contracts.
Right.
And that's a big issue to the local cities.
That sounds like it's something that to discuss with the sheriff in terms of, you know, his allocation of resources and his focus, his priority.
Yeah. I think even as James says, it's more of a county issue, but maybe it's something as a COG that we can write a letter on behalf of our cities to the county. Thank you.
Thanks, Alicia. Kelly Honig.
Yeah, I have a comment more than a question. First of all, thanks, James, for raising this issue. Again, I'm really concerned about this issue, and I guess just, in my frank way, I'll say it's highly irritating to me because I don't appreciate as a city being, essentially what is a pawn between the political battle between the sheriff and the county board of supervisors, nor do I, as a representative of my city, appreciate not being able to increase our law enforcement contract should we desire to do so, and should we have the funds to do so. We're just sitting around while, the sheriff's department is under pressure, as Captain Bender says, they're tired, the supervisors are under pressure, and we have no control over this situation. And I don't like it. I don't appreciate it, and I don't feel like that we are being represented adequately in this ongoing situation. And I'm not quite sure what to do about it, or if we can do anything about it. But I did want to express my displeasure that we are simply representatives of our residents trying to provide the highest level of law enforcement that we can within our budgets, which to date, Lost Hill Station and all the acting captains have provided an outstanding level of service, and I'm fully confident that they will continue to do that. But with this ongoing battle, it makes it very difficult for all parties, and I'm very unhappy about it, and that's where I am. Thank you.
Karen, may I weigh in on this, please?
Sure, please.
Thank you. I know, to be honest with you, I watched the weekly televised or the Facebook I guess press conference, if you will, from the sheriff. And I know there's an ongoing battle between the sheriff and with the homeless issue, and the supervisor in the LA Times, and it makes for good theater. However, if what the sheriff is saying, and he is, and the supervisors have not funded, and the defund movement is ongoing, that troubles me greatly. And I know that there's always talked about having a surplus in the budget for the state, and in some cases of this county. I'm not always on board with all the things the county is doing, but I think that I speak for myself that the public safety is number one in my city, number one above everything else. Secondly, then we take care of the roads, some of the parks and things of that nature, but we have to protect our citizens and our businesses. And I have to agree with Kelly that the fighting going on has got to stop. And if I would like to see the COG take a position and see if what Tessa has always been so good to the COG of the cities. But if she's saying that the resources are there, well, let's find out what the real truth is then. It's a he said, she said going on as a battle, and none of us are being served well for it. And I think the sad part is Lieutenant Fender, Acting Captain Fender, and his men and women, the heroes of this area, the ones that are the pawns in all this. The cities, we write our check every month, and we're blessed to have the men and women that we've always had there for all these years. And I am, for one of them, just I'm upset, I'm disappointed, and I'm just getting angry at the ongoing battles between these two individuals, or rather the board of supervisors. And I'd just like to see what the truth is. The sheriff says this, Tess is saying this. Let's get the truth and see what really happened. But other than that, I want to say God bless the Lieutenant Fender and his team, and stay safe.
May I comment? I just wanted to say that on the ground, the sheriff's department at Lost Hills and and our office get along beautifully, don't we, Captain Fender? And with Captain Becerra, I mean, the communication, the working together, you know, if there are challenges, we have not seen any evidence of that. And in addition, I think many of you know that the supervisor gives around $500,000 a year to Lost Hills for services like Operation Safe Canyons and arose support during red flag days. So, you know, there is evidence on the ground of additional resources being available. And we appreciate, you know, our partnership with the Sheriff's Department locally, for sure.
Thank you, Tessa. Unless somebody wants to make a motion, I'm going to suggest that we move on because we have a still quite packed agenda and we're trying to be finished by 10 o'clock.
Karen, or Terry, I'm not sure at what point in the meeting, I'd like to see follow-up from our COG on this issue, if it's a future agenda item or a letter to the county, but I don't want to like let this item just drop. I want to share the comments that have been expressed today beyond this call.
Thanks, Alicia. I appreciate that. Terry?
I would be happy to work with you, Karen, and Alicia to put together a letter that is not political. We don't want to wade into those waters between the sheriff and the board of supervisors, but just letting both parties know how concerned we are, and hopefully there will be a resolution.
So if the board is to write or correspond with either the sheriff or the board of supervisors about this, I will need to take this to my city and see if that is a position that we want to take. So Rob, we'll discuss. I mean, to date, we've tried to stay out of it, frankly. But if the COG is wishing to take another position, that's what we'll need to do in Westlake.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I concur with that. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I mean, I think we can just acknowledge we're in the middle of what appears to be competing forces. Perhaps not at the local level, but overall. Okay, so Terry, let's regroup at another time on that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
All right.
Karen, for the time.
Sure, thank you all. All right, moving on. Terry, do you have a COVID update and consideration of returning to in-person meetings?
Generally, this is the point where each one of the cities report. I know that the general understanding is that most everyone seems to be getting ready, if not going back already, getting ready to go back. And so I just wanted to have some discussion with the governing board as to whether or not they were ready to go back to in-person meetings and when that would occur.
Do we have any comments?
I'd like to comment. I think, Terry, we're talking about going back to a hybrid meeting. Is that, or just straight up going back in person? You're muted, Terry.
Hold on one second. I apologize. I was doing double duty for a second, but I'm back. And so it really hasn't been decided, Stuart, if the governing board wanted to go to a hybrid. It's certainly up to you, and depending upon the capabilities of the Las Virgenes Water District building, which is where we're going to have the meetings.
Okay, so I guess the question is, can we, before we commit to anything, I think we should know whether that hybrid option is available. Can you check with the water district and see if they have that capability?
Yes, I will check with them.
And as far as comments from these various cities, we're going to address this in Hidden Hills on our March 28th meeting, a discussion about going to hybrid. So, and I think there's a sense that that's what we want to do. So that's the view from Hidden Hills.
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, Terry and I had a conversation with, I can't remember the person's name, at the Las Virgenes Water District office.
Mike, it's Mike.
Mike, thank you, Kelly. You made the introduction. He assured us that they're certainly equipped to run regular in-person meetings, but the question about hybrid meetings, I don't think we covered that with him. So thanks for bringing that up, Stuart. I'll make a point to do that.
I'll get that information and then confer with you, Karen.
Okay, great. Thanks, Terry. Anyone else? Any comments on that? Alicia, is your hand up? Just
My hand's up. I just wanted to make sure that when we discuss going back, that we don't lose the participation of like sheriff and fire. It's been so valuable having those participants. And I know sometimes when we go in person, it gets harder with different schedules. So I just want to make sure that when we go back, we're able to still include everyone that's been joining in our remote meetings. And also I'm interested to hear what each city's doing with their return plan.
You know, Karen, if I may, I'd let Nate Hamburger to weigh in on this too, but we had a discussion at our last meeting and we've come to the conclusion that, you know, they always joke about Dennis being flexible. So we've decided to be flexible with ongoing and a hybrid type of meeting and allow the public to come into the city council chambers. Now, Nate, if I'm wrong, you correct me, please. But we've decided to stay with a hybrid for the time being, and all five of the council feel justified in doing so. So, Nate, am I wrong on that?
No, Councilor Weber, you're absolutely correct.
Dennis, can I ask you a question then?
No.
Or when I say hybrid, I'm talking about both the public and the council.
Yes.
So will your council be allowed to both, some be there in person and some be Zooming in?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure we got our terminology straight.
Yes.
okay, and I'm looking for it on the agenda. I'm assuming we will have a report from each of the city managers, and perhaps we can cover this.
Well, we usually do that individually under information items, but I thought since we had the COVID update and discussion on returning that we could kind of do that all together.
Okay. Okay. So
if you want to call on the board members or city manager, it's worked well with the city managers to report. So
sure.
If you.
Okay, and I believe you go in alphabetical order to
Yes.
Okay, so Agoura Hills.
Thank you. I think we've covered ours, and just one more note is, even if the 5 council members or planning commissioners are in person, they've asked that we still allow the public to participate remotely or via Zoom or some other medium where they can make comments that way as well. But I think Dennis covered the rest of it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nate. All right, Calabasas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have not discussed this as a council yet, or with the council yet. We're scheduled to do so either at our March 23rd meeting or at a special meeting on March 30th, which we are addressing some other issues. And we'll get direction from the council at that time. When we did this previously, the direction from the council was a hybrid meeting where some council members and staff could participate remotely. And so we'll probably have that discussion again and have the technology and are ready to implement.
Okay, great. Thank you. Kenton, let's see, Hidden Hills?
Hi, good morning. Yeah, much like Calabasas, last night, City Council asked staff to put it on the March 28th agenda to have the discussion. We'll don't want to get in front of myself or in front of the council, but I would assume that whatever direction ends up, if there is a return to the council chambers, we'll offer a Zoom hybrid for both council members and residents that wish to participate that way. We have the technology already installed. So at this point, that's where we're at.
Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Steve McClary, Malibu.
Chair Farrer, Malibu City Hall reopened to the public on February 22nd. Yesterday, we switched to masks being strongly recommended, so they're no longer required. And we will be discussing at our March 28th meeting with the City Council on a date for when to return to in-person meetings. And also at that meeting, Council will be discussing whether or not we want to do the hybrid meeting option. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And Rob, Westlake Village.
Thank you, Karen. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Westlake Village City and Council have discussed this actually a few times. The conclusion that we came to was sort of a little different than the others, is for the council members to all be in person and not be hybrid in the sense from the council and the core staff. We started that on March 9th back in council chambers, but continue to allow the hybrid option for the public. And that's not really related to the Brown Act necessarily. We expect that's probably going to be an expectation that's going to be ongoing for the public to be able to teleconference in. And then for our outside consultants and things to allow them to teleconference in as well. That's sort of for efficiency and that kind of thing. So as we talked about it, and Kelly and Ray may want to add to this, but we found that it would be better for us and for our ability to connect with one another as a council and staff, and for the council members to connect with members of the public who do show up in person, that we're there together as a group. But again, to allow the hybrid option for the public, just to increase the ability for them to connect with the council. That the public can also come in person if they want, but they can also teleconference in. So that's been our decision that we're moving forward with. And we started on the 9th, and we intend to proceed that way going forward. But Kelly, Ray, anything to add to that?
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Okay, moving on to our agency partners. Do we have anything else, Captain Fender, from the Sheriff's
You
Department?
wanted to go to 7D, Karen.
Oh, excuse me. You're right. Sorry about that. Okay. So 7D is regarding Camp Kilpatrick. And this came up rather quickly. Terry, do you want to kick us off?
I'd be happy to provide an overview, and I apologize to the board for the length of the agenda. If you printed it out, it's something that I try to avoid, but with all of the county reports that had to be included, it just got voluminous. So my apologies, but I'll try and cut to the chase. As you're aware, the county, excuse me, let me back up, and the state law that passed last year and was signed by Governor Newsom requires the closing of the juvenile justice facilities that the state operates, and that that the juveniles in the state custody be returned to their county of residence. As a result of that, LA County is required to take on additional juvenile youth into existing probation facilities that were originally designed as minimum security type facilities. The type of juvenile offender that was in state custody is a more serious type of offender that would have been generally speaking, would have been in the county probation camps. As a result of that, you could argue that there would be a higher risk of something occurring in the minimum security with a more serious offender. President Fair brought this to my attention a week ago Friday, and we began a number of meetings with the county, and Tess has been very helpful in providing information, and the probation department, who was also very helpful in providing information. And all of that has been presented to you. The ultimate question is the juvenile offenders that fall into this category are currently being held at the Barry Nydorf Center in Sylmar. The proposal is, as stated, to put those youth offenders in Campus Kilpatrick, which is located in the Santa Monica Mountains, near Malibu, Westlake Village, and Agoura Hills. So the question is whether or not the governing board wants to support President Fair's request to write a letter on behalf of the COG opposing the relocation, and to further confuse or simplify matters. The motion is by Supervisor Kuehl and Supervisor Mitchell to move the juveniles to that facility. There is a motion today at the Board of Supervisors meeting that's being brought forward by Supervisor Barger to keep the youth where they're currently being housed, which is at the Barry Nydorf Center, because that's where they, after they're adjudicated, they go to that center previously before they were sent to a state facility. And so now they're residing there. And so her motion is to keep them at that location because it was already designed for that. So it's obviously, it could be a safety issue. I don't think that the governing board or that President Fair, and there has not been any discussion or any indication from the COG that these youth should not be properly taken care of in an environment that's safe and not the old school, treat juveniles like adults and everything else. So I think there's the acknowledgement of that fact. There is, however, the question of what safety risks are involved by putting more serious offenders in a facility that was not designed for that.
Thank you, Terry. And before we discuss as a governing board, do we have any speakers from the public? Apparently not. Okay, I thank you very much for that, Terry. And there's a lot of information in this packet. I'm hoping you've all had time to go through it. I want to make sure everybody understands my position. This is not a debate on rehabilitative treatment versus punitive. It is about the facility and the fact that it was a facility built with low risk offenders in mind, not high risk. And the point about the level of safety is not just for the communities. That's actually probably farther down the list in my mind. It's actually the safety of the offenders themselves from each other and from the staff members. And in my discussions with some people at the county, I've been told that staff members have been assaulted, seriously assaulted. So I think this plan for the minimum security facility at Camp Kilpatrick is ill-founded, and the plan is to put these juvenile offenders there, who I believe range up to age 25. They are not all minors by any stretch. And if anybody has other information, please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But to put them there at Camp Kilpatrick until that facility can either be retrofitted or another more secure facility can be found, that could be years. And I don't think this is a good plan whatsoever. I believe Supervisor Barger's motion, which is being introduced this morning at the county supervisors meeting, makes much more sense to keep these juvenile offenders where they currently are in a facility that's designed for them. So I'm happy to take any comments from any of you on this. Oh, and along with all of this, I'm sorry, Stuart, one last thing, is also increased fire danger and increased evacuation issues. So there we go.
My only question was put the sheriff representative on the hot seat and see if the sheriff's department has an opinion, as long as it's potentially a public safety issue as well. Is there opinion coming from our acting captain?
I looked into the issue last week. This issue came up when we were on a phone call, I believe, with Malibu, and reached out to my partners with the county probation department. They haven't got back to me yet. I don't know if they will. You know, I like to be very honest. I don't know how much control or sway I have over the county probation department. It's a completely different department outside of the sheriff's department. However, I did assure the people on the call with the representatives from Malibu that regardless of where they move them, right, it is my job to make sure the communities are safe. So if for whatever reason they do close down the Silmar facility or move those individuals over to Camp Kilpatrick, it's my job to work with probation to figure out how I can best contain the people that are there or ease the public's fears or come up with some type of strategy which ensures the safety of the public in the area directly surrounding Camp Kilpatrick. So, I mean, my opinion, you know, it's hard not to give your personal opinion when you're wearing the uniform and you represent the entire sheriff's department. I understand absolutely the concerns and the frustrations. I know they were looking to move some of these individuals up to the Santa Clarita area, which is where I live. And I know they were very vocal about that. But again, I don't have a lot of sway over probation. Not to admit that I'm powerless in this this talk, but it's my job to make sure to plan for contingencies, right? The sheriff's department here is everything. If everything goes bad, that's why the sheriff's department is here. So my job is to try to figure out if it does come to fruition and they do move, how can I best work with the cities? How can I best work with Tessa and the county partners to ensure that everybody feels safe and that, you know, God forbid, if something happens, how do we respond?
Thank you, Captain Fender. I appreciate your readiness to always deal with the hand that has been dealt. We'll see where that leads us. We do have, it looks like a public speaker, Ryan Embry. Terry, can you unmute?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Since my history goes back so long, I don't remember if it was 20 or 30 years ago. There have been some notable escapes from Camp David Gonzalez in the past. And that has, you know, caused a lot of concern because of the lack of roads and being in the mountainous area, that the capture of the person again is a very disturbing process that it obviously involves the public. And my concern for the Kilpatrick location is if someone were to get out, the inclination would be well, not an inclination, it would be to go down in elevation into Malibu. It takes a lot more effort to climb uphill into there's nothing up there really. So it would be to come down into Malibu. So that would be putting Malibu residents at risk in the whole operation and so forth. And it, as Karen had said, that the facility is not envisioned and equipped for this. So if you read the letter from Sheila, which came out on Saturday in her blurb, the issue is only for a consideration of how to upgrade the facility, of whether it might need that. That's quite a naive statement, I have to say, and those were the alarming words in that communication. So I think that this is a very disturbing thing. I'm sorry that there wasn't enough information for the city of Malibu to come to a definitive opposition on this last night, but I am confident that the Malibu City Council will revisit this issue given time. And so I would support the COG venturing further into this and have some of the other cities check into it as well or agendize it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Kelly, I see your hand.
Did Terry or Karen, do we have someone here from probation with any information about, I don't know who that would be.
Not in a, other than the report, county probation folks are at the Board of Supervisors meeting this morning.
Okay, thank you.
We do have Tessa. I don't know if Tessa has any additional information.
Well, and I apologize, our deputy who focuses on these issues, our justice deputy, is out of town and could not be here. I don't have too much to add other than to say that Kilpatrick is a locked facility. It's a therapeutic setting. Apparently it's sort of, a place where people are provided with individualized and trauma-informed care. The goal is to rehabilitate these youth so that they can be ready to go out into the world. So this is a different setting than I guess where they are currently. The hope is to really, follow the science and recognize that young people need these sorts of settings to really get back on their feet and turn their lives around. In terms of retrofitting, that I don't know, so I can certainly go back and ask. I know that today, if they vote yes on this motion, that there will be a return to the board in 120 days to basically report on various things that they're going to be looking at. So I'll take back your concerns. The letter that was sent out, I'm really sorry to the Malibu folks who I know a couple of you reached out to me and asked why the letter wasn't sent to you, but it was sent to Terry because Terry was the one who reached out to me and we were replying to Terry.
I think, Tessa, I think the concern was not so much Sheila's letter to me, but the fact that this has been going on for some time. The board's been deliberating this since last summer. And the proposal, the motion that Supervisor Kuehl is making was not shared with the city of Malibu prior to that occurring. And I think that was it, not just that the letter was sent out last Friday and was shared with the board.
Got it. Okay.
We have Alicia and then Kelly, and I definitely have something else to say about this.
So I was, ever since I saw this was going to be on the agenda and Karen, we spoke, I was doing a bunch of research. It just seems like this site has had so many trials and errors, been open, been shut, been trying to be reimagined. And even the recent articles just show that nothing has really, things that they tried to say are going to happen at the site don't necessarily happen. It talked about during the fire, there were issues. A lot of people weren't able to evacuate. They had to shelter in place. So I guess I don't have enough information to even know how it's going to be operated. I just know that this has not been widely discussed or widely made. People in the community are not aware of this. That I definitely know. People, this is just not something that, it almost seems like it's being slipped under the radar. But the more you research about this site and ideas the county's had, I mean, yeah, it just, I have a lot of concerns.
Thank you, Alicia. Kelly?
I agree with everything that Alicia said. And I mean, we should all be concerned about this. This is literally, you know, in the canyon right down the street from Agoura Hills and my city as well. You know, here we are, the supervisors meeting is about to start and we're discussing this now because none of us got any information about this beforehand. I'm concerned about this, but I'm also extremely frustrated right now because I don't know anything about Camp Kilpatrick. You know, I mean, I'm having my first conversation with Rob last Friday or Thursday, whenever it was. And, you know, this should not be happening. I mean, if this, I can't even make an educated decision on how best to represent my constituents because I don't have any information. And that's just not an acceptable position. I mean, we should not be on the, you know, 30 minutes away from the Board of Supervisors meeting talking about this without any information. Again, frustrated. Thank you for putting up with me this morning.
Karen,
Thanks, Kelly, I
Karen-
can't disagree with any of that. It came to my attention 10 days ago, and I immediately contacted our interim city manager along with Terry Dipple. I do want to address one thing. Tessa, I think you've seen Supervisor Kuehl's March 10th open letter to the residents of Malibu and surrounding communities. At the bottom of the first page, I'll read you a sentence there. We are currently working with architects to oversee needed renovations, and that work will include a determination regarding whether additional security is needed. So renovations are being considered and discussed. I don't think any of us can say we don't know about that. It's in Supervisor Kuehl's letter. And that's extremely concerning to me. Kelly, I agree. I feel like the packet is as complete as it could have been to get ready for this meeting and for last night's Malibu City Council meeting. This all came down very quickly, and with noticing requirements and the supervisors meeting this morning, this is where we are. Does anybody else want to make a comment?
I do, Karen, if I may. I have to agree with my colleagues on the COG. This is, I think this is excuse me. The state makes a determination to close a facility, and then the counties have to bear the brunt of all this. And I'm just fed up with things like this. So I don't see any sense in trying to change what's working now just to try something new that may not work. And I'm concerned about the how close it is to our cities, especially Agoura Hills and Westlake Village, and certainly Malibu. So I am in favor of sending a letter rejecting this proposal.
Karen,
Okay.
Karen, if I could,
Yeah, sure, Terry.
one last thing, and Tessa, not to shoot the messenger, because I enjoy my working relationship with you, and you've been very helpful. The one thing, though, that if I could, in the San Gabriel Valley, the East San Gabriel Valley, there are 2 or 3 camps, and I know for a fact that the county held community meetings in those areas with the cities of San Dimas and Laverne and the school district to get the community input and comments with regard to the proposals that they were making for those camps. And I know that that was done also in Santa Clarita, and it just seems like a major omission that that wasn't done in our area before we got to this point where we are right now.
I am noting that concern, and many of you have brought that up, so I will pass that along. I did want to sort of raise the matter of renovations and what was brought up by some of you about how the facility isn't designed for children who are serious offenders. And yet with renovations, it could be made more, secure or whatever. So recognizing that there's a little bit of a contradiction there, right? Because we would want the facility to be able to handle these children. I did want to also say in reading some of my notes that there are currently some young people there who are there now, who are serious offenders. And the plan is not to dramatically increase it. They're thinking it would be just, a dozen, maybe up to 3 dozen. But we're not talking hundreds of serious offenders coming in. There would be another site. Where is it? There would be 2 sites, one not in the Santa Monica Mountains and one obviously at Kilpatrick.
Thank you, Tessa. I'll just add last thing. I believe it's worth noting that Camp Kilpatrick was put on the radar due to enormous community opposition in Santa Clarita for this exact plan. And as Captain Fender said, he knows about that because he lives in Santa Clarita, and I assume you'd know about it in your professional capacity as well, but you're a resident of that community. It took me about 2 seconds to do a Google search and pull up newspaper articles about that opposition. So I think we need to maybe make a motion and get a read on this and move on. Dennis, was your comment to be taken as a motion to write a letter in opposition to this?
That would be fine with me if you have a second.
I will second that. Okay, roll call, please.
Karen, if I could real quick, I've got the Board of Supervisors meeting on my phone in order to convey if the governing board did come to a conclusion. So could we, instead of writing, I don't think that we could put together a letter quickly enough. I wasn't really sure which way the board was going to go on this. So I could convey to the Board of Supervisors at the meeting that the COG, if the vote is as I think it's going, that the COG would oppose the relocation to Campus Kilpatrick and support Supervisor Barger's motion to keep them at the Barry Nydorf facility in Sylmar.
Okay, thank you, Terry. I think that's an appropriate way to handle it.
So that's the motion?
That is the motion.
Okay.
Are you okay with that, Dennis?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Okay, Terry, do you want to do the roll? Would you like me to?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Board Member Siegel,
Yes.
Board Member Weber,
Yes.
Board Member Honig,
Yes.
Board Member Weintraub,
Yes.
President Fair.
Yes.
It is unanimous.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Thank you all. And Terry, thanks for doing double duty here and being on this supervisors meeting at the same time. Okay. Moving on now, back to public safety, legislative and agency partner updates. Captain Fender, I don't know if we've left anything out today.
I'll be very quick because I know time is precious right now. First, really quickly, I just wanted to thank everybody on the call, all the city staff and the elected officials who have reached out to me in the past 2 weeks. This is the start of my 3rd week here at the station, and the support that I've got from the city staff and the elected officials has been overwhelming. I really appreciate it. The friendships that I made here the last time when I was the detective lieutenant have obviously carried over. I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and on that note, I've tried to provide my phone number to all the city staff and county staff and the elected officials. If anybody has a question or a comment or wants to get a hold of me, please reach out. I know it's customary that usually the captain of the station, has a lot of contact with the city managers of each of the cities because That's how we deal with the contracts. But I don't want anyone of the elected officials to feel like they're left out. So if they have a comment or a question, or you're more than welcome to call my number and please reach out, and I'll meet you for a cup of coffee and kind of address your concerns or questions you might have. So I just wanted to put that out there really quickly. I just wanted to report really quick. Although the crime statistics are up a little high in one of our cities, which is unacceptable to me. COG wide, the crime is down 9.3%. I checked it this morning, with Westlake Village and the unincorporated counties coming out on top at about 46% and 30% down respectively. So I am now pouring some resources into that one city where we saw the uptick. I've also tried to make a concerted effort, as I promised the COG and the city of Calabasas and the city of Malibu, with some response to the traffic issues and the speeding and racing. We've made some significant impacts in those two cities in the last week and a half that I've been here. To the tune, for Calabasas, we made 4 speeding citation arrests last week, which were very impactful because they were coming out of the canyons. And then I reported last night to the Malibu City Council that we wrote 87 citations in this last weekend, just in the Malibu and the canyons alone, for speeding and racing issues. So as I promised the COG, we've made an impact. We are making that impact. I'm going to live up to my word and show you that by action rather than by words, we're going to make an impact in these cities. Looking at my notes really quick, I wanted to report on the morale of the station that came up when we were talking about the contract compliance. I just want to let you know that the morale is good. Like I said, you're more than welcome to come over to the station and see for yourself, but the deputies are happy. They're tired. I have to be honest, they're tired, and with a lot of the vacancies and overtime and a lot of the extra work they're doing, but they still have a good attitude. We're still meeting the contract compliance minutes. As soon as I leave this meeting, I'll be headed down to our division headquarters. I'm going to express the concerns of the COG to my division chief, who has a direct conduit to the sheriff himself. So although I know you're going to write a letter with regard to that, I'm going to verbally have that conversation with the chief this afternoon so that he can convey to the sheriff some of the COG's concerns. Just looking at my notes real quick, I wanted to thank Mr. Bazigi. I don't think he's on the call anymore, but for providing that information out to the COG. He's a good partner to have. He always keeps me on my toes. When I was here as the detective lieutenant, he'd always ask me questions, but he keeps me on my toes. And again, I'm trying to be very transparent. I want that information out there. But again, I can't stress enough to the COG that my job is to make sure that the cities are safe. And it's not just lip service. It's my job to make sure the cities are safe. It's my job to make sure that your contract compliance minutes are up. If I have to suit up myself and go out there and push a radio car like I used to, I will do it. I'm not above that, trust me. You might see me out there in a patrol car in the city, but I'll make sure our compliance minutes stay within that 98% to 102. And if I can't, for whatever reason, which I don't believe that I can't, but if I can't, the city staff and I will definitely have a conversation about what we're going to do to address any kind of contractual compliance deficit. I apologize. I'm just looking at my notes really quickly. I think that is it. I had to reverb. I think that is it. Unless anybody has any questions for me, again, I'll make sure to provide my number. Please feel that you can call me anytime. Again, people call me all times of the day and night. So call me with a question. Let me know what's going on. I'll try to give you the most accurate and up-to-date information I can. But with that, I'm open to any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Captain Fender. In the interest of trying to get through the agenda in the next 16 minutes, I believe we ought to move on. And next up is a report from LA County Fire. Chief Smith or Megan Courier? Are you? Here you are. Thank you.
Here and Megan Courier here. Well, thank you for having us this beautiful day, and your fire family is doing good. And I'll couple on to what Captain Fender has said, is that we have a healthy workforce and our morale is absolutely fabulous. And also our working relationship is seamless with the Sheriff's Department in Agoura Hills and throughout the COG at Lost Hills. So we have a great working relationship. Captain Fender is a friend, so that makes things nice. And we meet often and go over the all-risk approach. And we know that as we transition from spring into summer, there's going to be a lot of events that affect all of our cities. And we communicate that continually through us. So looking in the future, we're looking at the Great Race of Agoura. We'll have our unified command approach towards wildfire risk and evacuations that we meet 4 times a year to go over that throughout the area. So it is a nonstop chain of events for us within the area to maintain our situational awareness and be proactive rather than reactive. And with that, I will let Megan Courier talk for a few. She's got a lot of good stuff to say.
Good morning. I just had one quick piece of good news I wanted to share. Some of you may have already heard this, but as of the end of last month, Chief Smith is no longer the acting Assistant Chief of Division 7, and he's been officially promoted to Assistant Chief. So luckily for us, he won't be going anywhere for a while.
I will not.
That's all I have.
Oh, great. Is there any questions for fire?
All right, thank you so much,
You
Captain
appreciate
Smith,
it.
no longer acting captain. And thank you, Megan.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, great. Next up, Jeff with Cal Cities.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I will be brief since I know you're trying to get some other action items done after this. We at the League of California Cities are looking at a lot of legislation. I've been in meetings with our lobbyists over the last week, and we still have a couple coming up today and this week, just about all the legislation that's been introduced. There's a lot of bills. I want to highlight just a few very quickly today. On housing and land use, SB 1466 by Senator Stern is a chance for the Cal Cities to try to sponsor and redo a bill that was vetoed a couple years ago. This would return tax increment financing to affordable housing and community development. It's the same proposal from a few years back that was vetoed. The governor at the time said that we needed to work through the budget process, so we're trying to do it again and get it into the budget process before his May revise. So we're really trying to push that one this year. SB 897. This one says that ADUs can be up to 25 feet tall. I'm not sure how that's of statewide concern, but they are looking to try to make it so that every city's ADUs could be up to 25 feet tall. So expect us to be opposing that one. And then 2 parking bills, SB 1067 by Portantino and AB 2097 by Friedman. This really does parking within half mile of transit. And includes, in some cases, transit corridors as well. So not just the bus stop or the metro stop, but that entire corridor that runs between the metro stop and the bus stop on that route. So that's something we're going to be looking at. And it essentially sounds like SB 50 from Senator Wiener a few years back that we were able to hold in the legislature. Quickly on the Brown Act, I know we had a lot of discussion about this at sort of at the beginning. We are looking to support AB 1944 by Assemblymember Lee. This would allow legislative body members, your city council members, to just by a simple majority vote, participate remotely without having to give out their address or make their location open to the public. This would require then also that the public would be able to participate remotely in those meetings when it's being used. So this is sort of a good first step. It doesn't solve all of our problems. There's a couple other Brown Act bills, including AB 2449 by Assemblymember Rubio. That was a little bit more restrictive. The Lee bill is very broad. It is kind of a nice way to just take that segment and make it more useful for cities. So we're looking at several of these pieces of legislation moving forward. I'm going to give you back the rest of your time, but hopefully we'll have a little bit more time to discuss legislation in the upcoming meetings, and just let you know also that we will have a webinar hopefully by the end of the month or first week of April on a lot of these bills that we hope you'll participate in as well.
Great, thank you very much, Jeff. Sorry to rush through so many important items. Okay, next up, action items. We have the contract extension for Gabriel Graham, our homeless outreach coordinator. Terry, are you?
Yes, as all of you know, Gabriel has been working tirelessly on behalf of the COG cities as our homeless outreach coordinator for the past 2 years, and his contract is currently up, and it's recommended that we extend his contract 1 year, and we will, when we do the COG budget, we'll discuss any increase or anything like that, but this is not the time to discuss that. It's just the time to discuss the extension.
Okay.
I would also point out that the city managers discussed this and is also recommending that the governing board approve the extension.
Okay. Thank you, Terry, and thank you, Gabriel, for all your work.
Karen, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
One question of Terry. Terry, does this have to be just 1 year or predicated on the budget constraints, or can it be more, maybe 2 years?
Well, I think that the discussion has always been if we extended it beyond what we know that the county homeless grant would cover, then we would have to, if the grant suddenly stopped, then it's possible that we would have to look at assessing individual cities if they wanted to. So I think that doing an annual extension is the best way at this point, with the understanding, of course, that Gabriel is doing an outstanding job, and all of the COG cities really appreciate the work and the commitment that we have from him and the professional relationship. So I think that we expect that to move forward just as it has been.
So thank you.
Okay, thanks for that question, Dennis. Thank you, Terry. Do we have any other governing board member comments?
I'll make the motion that we extend the contract for Gabriel Graham, our homeless outreach coordinator, for another year.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
The board member Siegel,
Yes.
board member Weber,
Yes.
board member Honig,
Yes.
board member Weintraub,
Yes.
President Farrer.
Yes. Okay, thank you, everybody. Next action item, appointment to the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission.
Yes, as outlined in my report, our longtime Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commissioner, Mikey Pearson, has indicated that due to his work schedule, that he's unable to continue representing the COG on the commission. He asked Steve Uring from Malibu if he would be interested, and it's well, I subsequently spoke with Steve, who stated that he would like to be the representative as he currently participates in the meeting. I'll also add, by way of background, that since the COG has appointed a representative to the commission, it has traditionally been a Malibu City Council member as the COG rep. So I would be recommending that we appoint Steve Uring to replace Mikey as the representative from the Malibu watershed cities on the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion that we appoint Steve Uring as the representative from the Malibu watershed cities on the Santa Monica Bay Restoration Commission.
Thank you, Stuart. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Vice President Siegel.
Yes.
Board member Weber.
Yes.
Board member Honig.
Yes.
Board member Weintraub.
Yes.
President Farrer.
Yes. And Kelly, I apologize for not acknowledging you by name as the seconder of that motion.
It's okay.
Okay. Moving along here, we have got the next action item. Oh, there's so many important items, really not enough time today. The limit of state and government, local government ability to raise revenues for government services. This is initiative, constitutional amendment, recommended action, discuss and take such action as deemed appropriate and otherwise provide direction to staff. This is a big one, and we have 4 minutes.
Yes, I'm sorry about the timing of this, and I apologize to Eric from the pro initiative side, but I would call on. So let me provide a little background. This was requested to be put on the agenda. The League of Cities has taken a position, well, has discussed this matter and has voted to oppose the petition. It was submitted to the Attorney General. That the title was changed, and they are able to collect signatures, and the signatures are due in 131 days before the general election. And so let's see, I would call on Eric Methke to present an argument in favor.
Thank you, Terry. Madam President, let me just ask, given the shortness of the hour and the fact that this is not something that's happening tomorrow. This is on the November ballot. We're still collecting signatures to see if this even qualifies. I'm perfectly happy to continue this and come back another time if it's better for you. I just want to make that offer.
President Fair, I want to hear from from Mr. Methke this morning. I want to get as much information as if possible today, if possible.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone, but I do.
Okay, Mr. Methke, first of all, I want to acknowledge and thank you for that offer. We have 2 minutes. I don't know, I can stay a few minutes longer. I don't know about everyone else. Let's give it a shot. And in addition to getting some discussion today, maybe we will bring this back perhaps next month and hear more about it or have more discussion on it.
Okay, so very well. Originally, I was told it was 10 minutes and then it was cut to 5 minutes. And now is it a 2-minute presentation you would like, or how long for this weighty issue would you like me to weigh in on?
It's a tough one today, isn't it?
It certainly is. I appreciate the position you're all in, and I'm happy to, like I say, I'm happy to take as much time as you want to give me.
I would say personally, if you can give us the elevator speech, that might be appropriate today.
Sure.
And then I think we should put this on again for next month. I'll say that right now.
And I'd be happy to come back and go into more detail. Let me just say this quickly then, as you say, the elevator speech. First of all, thank you for letting me be here today. We've submitted a fact sheet that's in your materials. I would encourage you to look at that. That really sets forth the highlights of what the initiative does. I want to assure you of one thing today, that is that there's nothing in the Taxpayer Protection Act that's being circulated that would have any impact on Measure M funds. It is prospective only. It has no effect on taxes currently in effect. So I want to get that straight at the outset. It would have no direct impact on your current operations. But I would also like to point out and acknowledge that if the Taxpayer Protection Act had been in effect when Measure M was on the ballot, it would have had no effect, because you fulfill everything that we're asking governments to do on future tax measures, which is disclose the type and the amount or the rate of tax that is being proposed, the duration of the tax, and if there's no duration, if it's open-ended, just tell the voters that, and then also make clear what the use is of the tax revenue. Those are the only 3 things that are required. Measure M did that beautifully, as near as I could tell. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and point that out and really commend you and those who were involved with that on that aspect of it. I feel really bad that about the time. You know, every campaign stretch, you know, in a campaign, the first victim is usually the truth. And some of the things that we've seen come out of the opposition campaign seems to fall into that bucket. I'm just going to hit the topic points. And if we are invited back, we can go into as much detail on any of these as you'd like. It's been said that it makes it more difficult to pass tax measures, future tax measures. I assume that's what the league's saying, but that is that we're patching the whole punched in Prop 218 by the courts in the Upland decision, which basically created a distinction that an initiative, special tax initiative that is put on the ballot by a initiative, as opposed to being put on by the government itself, that only has to pass with a majority vote. So we do go back to the original intent of Prop 218 and treat all special tax proposals to be put before the voters the same. They're all a 2/3 vote. We're fixing Upland. Now, interestingly, the position that we're taking in the Taxpayer Protection Act is exactly the same position the League of Cities took in their amicus brief in the litigation. So I have no idea why it was good policy then and bad policy now, but hopefully we can have that discussion later. There is a concern that has been raised by the League about retroactivity because it would apply to anything after 1/1/22. This is a common reach back provision. It was in Prop 218. It's part of the state constitution now in Article 13C. No real great mystery there. It's to prevent a land office rush of special elections when somebody sees a tax reform measure is on the ballot. It's pretty common. And Congress says the same thing. They make tax things applicable back to the beginning of the year. With that, Madam President, I really am concerned about your time. And that's what I would say is read the fact sheet, look at this carefully and understand that this is all prospective and does not affect any current revenues. So it's not going to cause a massive diminution in revenue and massive cuts in programs. That's rhetoric. It's not the facts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, I believe we have consensus to put this on next month's agenda. Can I just see a show of hands? Yes, and Stuart.
That's fine with me.
wrote that in his comment.
Karen, may I say, the City Council of Agoura Hills already took this under advisement, and it was a 4-to-1 vote to support the league. There was I voted against it. As a full disclosure, because I just think taxes should be harder to raise than easier. So that was a personal philosophy of mine. So, but I'm happy to see it come back next month.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. I'm sure we all agree it warrants further examination. It looks like that's it for the agenda. Am I missing anything, Terry?
If anybody has any future agenda items or, and then just noting the upcoming TAC and governing board meeting.
Okay, great. TAC is April 6th and the next governing board meeting is April 19th. Okay, then I believe we can adjourn.
Thank you.
Everybody
Thank
for
you all
your
very
time.
much.
Okay, thanks so much.